We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner PATC Breakfast. Breaking news, Ross Dellinger, Yahoo Sports reports Project Rudy. Project Rudy. Is there a Super League forming? Remember, the Big Ten and the SEC, they meet in Nashville starting tomorrow. They're going to be talking about this. Holy smokes. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner. Your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and your friends if you want to support this college football YouTube Rebel Outpost channel with a donation. Hit the $ where you make a comment, and I'll get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Everybody, and I mean everybody, is welcome into the studio that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid, especially today. Do not be afraid to be a legend with your comments in the chat room, with your phone calls later in the show. We're going to go through this Ross Dellinger article. I don't know if everybody has seen it, have read it. We're going to go through it. This Super League model, this one is of 70 schools. It's, I think it's more serious than the prior one. It's Project Rudy. It's something that supposedly will save everyone, unless of course you are a G5 school. If you're a G5 school, you're done. So again, I'll get into that later. Interesting concept. Supposedly it keeps the conferences together. The conferences, they don't go on the 70-team divisional stuff. 72, 12, 16 divisions. The conferences stay together. They're in tiers. They're in 3 separate tiers. You can go up or down on a tier depending on if you win or lose. Well, if we're going to do that, then maybe we shouldn't have conferences anymore. And before we get into the article, my question is, if private equity is coming into the college sports landscape, and it is, because it's in the NBA, it's in NFL, it's coming. If all this money is sitting at the side of the table, if this is a solution that's going to save everybody, and private equity is coming in, why doesn't the SEC just do it on their own? Then why doesn't the Big 12 just do it on their own? Why doesn't the Big 10 just do it on their own? Some of this still isn't lining up logically to me at all. We'll go through the article. We'll first do a roll call. Thank you all for joining us. There's going to be difference of opinion here, of course. This is more serious. This is why we're doing a live breaking news show this morning. It's gotten more traction. And it started, supposedly, Project Rudy talking to the top brand schools, right? This is where it's going to happen. If this happens, it means the Buckeyes and the Wolverines and Notre Dame and Texas, it means they have acquiesced. They said, okay, we'll do this. It's not going to be a bottom-up approach. It sounds good, but it just doesn't work that way. This seems to have more traction. But is it actually going to happen? The Walking Geek is in the house. Stephen McNeely, John Dry, P.A. Nolfan, Jeff Jorgensen, Matt Neeson, Joaquin Morales, Casey Mallory, Jeff Morgan, Bill G is in the house. Michael Wooten, Matt Schnuck, the Big Lubbock. Super League coming? I'll let you decide. Ryan Thomas, calm the bleep down, Greg. Something like this only happens if everyone's on board. And if they all get on board, then it probably won't be a bad thing. Not everybody. Look, this plan here that supposedly saves everybody basically puts the G5 in their grave. Isn't that greedy? Isn't that greedy that we're letting the G5 die away? Not everybody's on board on this either. And if everybody's on board, it doesn't mean it's going to be a good thing, because everybody's been on board with the NCAA. And look where that has gotten us. Lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. Kirk Bender is in the house. Secret Agent is in the house. Kenneth Stromness is here. Texas Tech Red Raider Laura Weiss is here. Florida Canes, Son of Sarek, Jimmy, John Dry, Mick Stevens, Bearcat. Usually in my Florida home. Thinking I'll delay my trip for a while. Yes, Steve. I hope. I pray for your location wherever you go down there. Stay away for now. My goodness. Son of Sarek, stop, just stop. They're trying to ruin the sport like Major League Baseball has the baseball. Preston from Greensboro. Tears or tears? I don't know. I can't talk, Mac. But I don't know. We're going to go through the article real quick. Well, it's a long article. We'll go through it as efficiently as possible. Connecticut fan is in the house. I don't think it happens soon. Gorb is here. Buckshot Kid. John Drive. Will Washington State and Oregon State join? Well, I think yes. I mean, I think the top 70 joins. I think Notre Dame sounds like they want this. They don't have to join the conference. Everybody gets to share in the media deal after the next 6 years. Ryan Thomas asks if consolidation of the Big Ten and SEC, taking all the big brands, hasn't ruined the sport. You all are hypocrites. First question, has it ruined the sport? Has it? Second of all, the Big 12. Look what the Big 12 just did to the Pac-12. I'm not the one that's being a hypocrite. Look what the Big 12 just did. And look, everybody is out for their own self-interest. I'm the one that's not being a hypocrite. Every school, every conference is looking out for its own. The Big 12 did. Right? I mean, the Big 12 is not saying, look, let's bring in a bunch of G5 schools and let's have them under our media rights. I'm not the one that's being a hypocrite. I don't quite understand it. Okay, let's go through the article because there's a lot of people who have not seen the article. Don't know what I'm even talking about. Don't know what Ryan Thomas is talking about. They have not seen the article. While the SEC and the Big Ten leaders mull major changes, a new Super League concept looms that could radically alter college sports. Over the summer, as college administrators scrambled to unearth new cash for the onset of athlete revenue sharing, a svelte, respectable man visited with leaders at some of the most high-profile athletic departments in the country. He presented to them his solution for an unwieldy entity of college football. It is called Project Rudy. His claim is that everybody will be saved, said one Power Conference athletic director. Everybody will be saved under Project Rudy. As the SEC and the Big Ten leaders prepare to meet Wednesday and Thursday in Nashville for a historic summit of the industry's two powers, there is an unreported undercurrent driving the discussion. Project Rudy. So PATC, we are going to take Project Rudy way more serious than that other Super League possibility. This has gotten more traction. Spearheaded by former Disney executives turned investment professionals, Project Rudy is a Super League-esque concept, separate and more simplified than the one made public last week, that incorporates football programs of the 4 power conferences and a 70-team structure. The model preserves the 4 power conferences. So it preserves the Big 12, the ACC, the Big 10, and the SEC. It expands the postseason, overhauls scheduling, tiers revenue distribution, and most importantly, infuses as much as $9 billion of private capital cash into the system. The architects behind the model work for Smash Capital, a venture capital and private equity firm with offices in Los Angeles and New York. Representatives from Smash Capital declined to comment when reached last week, but their concepts are outlined in a 14-slide presentation obtained by Yahoo Sports. Over the last 4 months, athletic directors at more than 25 power conference programs have seen the presentation, many of them in person during meetings with Smash Capital representatives. Others only held phone or Zoom calls about Project Rudy, named after the famous Notre Dame walk-on. 3 of the 4 power conference commissioners were shared details of the model directly from the architects as well. Those from the SEC, Big 12, and the ACC. It sounds like Tony Petitti was not shared direct details. In a recent acquisition, the architects of Project Rudy, now this is PATC money shot number 1. The architects of Project Rudy successfully recruited to join their team one of the most respected people within the college space, Notre Dame's athletic director, Jack Swarbrick. It is a stunning move for someone who just 6 months ago sat on the College Football Playoff Governing Committee as one of the most powerful decision makers in the industry. Notre Dame Jack Swarbrick is on Project Rudy's team. Again, Project Rudy would give Notre Dame everything they want. So, yes. I guess they're being altruistic though, because they get everything they absolutely want in this deal. Well, good for them. Of all the ideas I've seen, this one makes the most sense, said Miami Athletic Director Dan Radakovich, who has seen the presentation. Of all the ones, all the ideas, this one makes the most sense. This is the one that's getting the most traction, Project Rudy. So I got a feeling that this is not going to be the only time we're going to be covering this story here at PATC. Conferences are kept intact. Commissioners still have an important and valuable role, and there is the ability of schools to make increased money from bigger matchups and more playoff games. More than 36 people spoke to Yahoo Sports for the story, many of them under the condition of anonymity. The topic is sensitive at a time of great divide, wavering trust, in historic transformation. College sports resides at a vulnerable place as court rulings and public perception shift against its traditional amateurism model. At the heart of the matter is the intensifying pressure to fairly share revenue with high-level football players from the riches of the NCAA's most profitable football programs, which for decades used their profits to subsidize all other sports, pay coaches millions, and construct gaudy facilities. Sensing a vulnerability within the sport and fearing for its future, the outside entities are mobilizing in an attempt to deliver capital to cash-craving schools while creating more professionalized models to replace the current crumbling structure from a bygone era. As major college athletics burst reluctantly from its amateurism facade, Project Rudy lurches over the gathering of Big Ten and SEC leaders. This new multi-billion-dollar idea is poised to escalate the budding partnership between the two leagues, accelerating what some believe are inevitable changes in both revenue generation and distribution. At the center of the debate are the two men, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey and Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti. The smash capital idea is brilliant, says one high-level SEC school administrator. But you got to convince those two guys. You're also going to have to convince Congress. You're also going to have to convince Congress. And we're going to get into that. So you're going to have to convince Petitti, Sankey, the Buckeyes, the Wolverines, the Alabama, the Georgia, and you're going to have to convince Congress. Project Rudy, the architects of Project Rudy, Evan Richter, Kevin Mayer, Tom Staggs, spent years working for the Walt Disney Company. Much of it together, according to the biographies posted on the Smash Capital website. I'm going to skip over these people here, okay? Project Rudy is built on two somewhat simple concepts to increase revenue from television networks and corporate sponsors. Number one, arrange more games between Power Conference programs by eliminating all games against Group of Five and FCS opponents. Again, that's going to crush the Group of Five. So if we're going to do this, let's quit pretending that we're all altruistic, right? Quit pretending that some of us are hypocrites and some of us are not. You're eliminating all Group of Five games and FCS opponents. You're expanding the playoffs and pitting blue blood powers more often against one another. Consolidate the media rights of 70 schools under one agreement. Under one agreement. Again, we're going to get back to that in a moment. Instead of the current structure of 5 different packages, one for each Power League and Notre Dame. The plan's other concept, tiered distribution with relegation, for instance, hinge on a cash boon from those two ideas. According to the slide presentation, the proposed challenges will result in an increase of media and sponsorship revenue of about $15 billion over a 12-year period. The growth is derived from holding 1.5 times more marquee games, playoff, top bowls, and 3 times more quality games, rivalries, and blue blood matchups, while eliminating games against non-power opponents, currently 18% of FBS scheduling. The upfront infusion of $5.3 billion in private capital borrowed from future media revenues would provide schools immediate cash during a 3-year transition period, helping them buy out non-power opponents and supplementing their annual television distribution. Television distribution, normally split evenly across conference members, provides schools their main source of revenue to fund athletic department expenses. It is the driving force for the most recent wave of conference realignment, as schools eschew historic rivalries and geographic footprints to shift to leagues with TV deals that pay out more money. Under the Smash Plan, one current conference media deals end in 7 to 10 years. A consolidated, centrally negotiated media deal is struck with Smash and the networks, themselves owning equity in the new league. The centralized for-profit league, as it is described in the slide deck, keeps 5 to 12.5% of the new revenues after distributing guaranteed payments to school. No school will see a decrease in its distribution from what it receives or is projected to receive under its current media contracts. Wow, sounds great. More money for everybody. And the private equity firm keeps some of that new revenue. According to the proposal, school-by-school distributions would skyrocket. Cash that would presumably be used to help sustain Olympic sports, something that administrators contend is threatened by the advent of revenue sharing. However, the revenues will be allotted unequally. Project Rudy separates the 70 programs into 3 tiers. Tier 1, the top 16 schools earn per school revenue projections from $130 million in year 4, escalating to $250 million in year 12. Double the SEC in Big Ten's current distribution rate. So the top 16 schools are going to earn a whole hell of a lot more. The tier 2 schools, the next 22 schools, earn revenue of $60 to $110 million, similar to the SEC and Big Ten current rates. Tier 3, the last 32 schools, earn projections of $30 to $60 million, similar to the Big 12 and the ACC rates. So we're still going to have tiers. We're going to have huge gaps of money, right? Between tier 3 and tier 1. Just that everybody's getting more and private equity is getting equity. They're going to own some of this. The model offers a variety of ways to determine how to tier schools. The previous season results, perhaps, or an aggregate of results over a stretch of seasons. The model also features a regulation and promotion system to pave for schools to move up and down. However, one proposed model suggests having 8 permanent members of Tier 1. 8 permanent members. A move presumably to placate the biggest brands in the sport. A permanent 8 of Tier 1. Don't matter if they're losing games. Right? So this is the idea that's going to save everybody. This slide deck leaves specific tiering and relegation decisions to those operating the league. Those decisions are left to those operating the league. Includes a centralized commissioner or commissioners. The deck, these slides, these presentation describes the model as a win for all sides. Schools, fans, networks, and of course the athletes. One page of the deck, in fact, details how the increased revenues will offset player compensation obligations. Project Rudy is meant to work within the settlement of the House antitrust lawsuits that the NCAA and Power Conferences struck with plaintiffs. The settlement, preliminary, approved on Monday, will permit universities to directly share revenue with athletes under a capped amount that is expected to average $25 to $28 million annually per school over the next 10 years. Perhaps not coincidental, Project Rudy over the 12-year model projects for each school annual average revenue to increase of $25 million. The smash proposal appeals to people because it helps with an immediate issue, said one high-ranking Big Ten administrator. But private equity usually wants a high rate of return and high level of control. What changes are the SEC and the Big Ten mulling? The meeting of the SEC and the Big Ten leaders, while long discussed, is perhaps not coincidentally timed. It unfolds amid a flurry of action related to the future of the sport. Last Tuesday, an outfit called College Sports Tomorrow publicly launched its version of the future of college athletics. Separately, Smash Capital representatives were in the process of organizing an in-person meeting of more than a dozen athletic directors in October. That meeting has now been pushed back, according to those briefed on the matter. Then last Friday, two university presidents, West Virginia, Syracuse, authored an open letter in the Chronicle of Higher Education urging their presidential colleagues to take action to avoid the Big Ten and the SEC merging into a 36-school Super League. An interesting wrinkle. Yahoo Sports obtained a copy of the original letter. It was signed by 6 university presidents. 4 of the presidents removed their signatures before publication. Most notably, 1 each from the SEC and the Big Ten. So there was at least one president in the SEC and the Big Ten who bought in to the Super League model of the 72-team model. At least one each that first had signed, but then they took it off. The confluence of these events is perhaps the public crescendo of the years-long power struggle between those in control of the current system and those seeking to change it. A fight over the future of college football industry that, while unstable off the field, has evolved in America's second most popular sport. You've got entrenched interest, said Len Perna, the man spearheading College Sports Tomorrow, and the CEO of college athlete search firm Turnkey CRG. The people doing the best in the current system don't want to see it change. While the models for both Perna and Smash Capital have captured the attention of many administrators, the two most powerful conference commissioners, Sankey and Petitti, have both publicly expressed skepticism, if not doubt, in outside concepts or modeling. In comments made to Yahoo Sports from SEC football media days in July, Sankey wondered aloud why college athletic administrators would cede authority to an outside entity when they can make decisions themselves, words that now seem squarely directed at the Smash Capital plan. Any of the ideas identified can actually be decided within a conference or a collection of conferences, he said. When reached last week, both Sankey and Petitti declined to comment for this story, but plenty of the high-ranking officials agree with their commissioners. Let's do this ourselves. We don't need a middleman, said one SEC school athletic director. I'd like to go at it to see if we can figure out something ourselves, said a Big Ten athletic director. Within a meeting room this week at downtown Nashville Hotel, a subsection of Power League administrators will in fact come together to explore some of these exact concepts. An SEC Big Ten football scheduling arrangement. This would more routinely pair big brands against one another in made-for-TV matchups that generate additional revenue. Such a move would likely require the SEC to move from 8 to 9 conference games, a lingering issue inching towards a resolution. It is inevitable that we play 9 conference games, one SEC school official told Yahoo Sports. Changes to the future college football playoff format This includes a proposal to have multiple automatic qualifying spots. We've been through that over and over and over here at Peak Around the Corner. Still, a pushback against that, such a format remains. One thing is for sure, fans don't want an artificial championship, Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark told the Houston Chronicle over the weekend. They want a real championship, just like every other sport. There are no free passes. Let's earn it. Potential change to the selection process. Is the committee the best way? Is under consideration as well. The two leagues, as well as the TV partner ESPN, hold control of many of these decisions. And finally, the distribution of new revenue. Whether this emerges as a conversation point in Nashville remains unclear. However, the Smash Capital proposal, unequal distribution, as well as the uneven distribution changes in the ACC and with the college football playoff, have charted a path forward such a structure to emerge in the SEC and the Big Ten, where its most valuable members receive the same television distribution as those deemed less valuable. According to figures shared with administrators, 18 schools produce 60% of the broadcast viewership over the last 7 years. Within those 18, 6 schools generate a majority of that: Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, Michigan, Texas, and Notre Dame. It is a concept that has to be considered for certain level schools, said Gene Smith. Whether or not it can be done, I don't know, but there is a reality to what certain schools bring to the conference, and it needs to be considered. But I do believe in the conference structure. Ensuring other schools in the conference maintain significant financial support is critical. So what's the best path moving forward? Again, when we're done with the article, we're going directly to the phone lines. We are going to open up the phone lines. What's the best path moving forward? As a negotiating director for Nike decades ago, Chris Balakwa often found himself in a room with college football heavyweights like Delaney, Kramer, and Swofford. He once told them a simple truth about college athletics. My point with them is you couldn't have constructed a more inefficient structure. Now a leading member of College Sports Tomorrow Plan. That happened 20 some odd years ago. Since then, the issues within college athletics have grown more complex, and some contend dire. The NCAA is paralyzed, its enforcement entity handcuffed by court rulings and state law after years of resistance from its members to modernized athlete compensation rules. Meanwhile, a chase for television cash transformed the conference landscape into an unrecognizable swath of programs without much geographic or culture sense. Among the power leagues, the biggest brands are consolidated into 2 conferences that continue to distance themselves from all the others. The SEC and the Big Ten hog prime-time television windows, produce eye-popping viewership numbers, generate the most cash, and assemble the best talent. It is a natural evolution of markets, says Perna. Markets tend to shrink down to a smaller number of bigger competitors, he said. Railroad companies, telecommunications, that's how markets go. There is a downside to all of it, said former Big 12 Commissioner Bob Bowlesby. It's a zero-sum game, he said. You have one winner and one loser. Take the aggregate of the Big Ten. Those who have been traditional winners, some of them are going to have to lose. Amid all of this, looming on the horizon in the next iteration of athlete compensation, sharing revenue directly from the schools or the players, a concept permitted from the House Settlement Agreement, whether they are striking new sponsorship deals, slashing administrative staffs, or increasing ticket prices. Schools are digging for dough. Schools are digging for dough. They're trying to get more money. This unruly state has cracked the door for the emergence of outside forces. Conversations around future models, such as Project Rudy, have reached the presidential level, been discussed within meetings of conference executives, and for some remain a viable option for the future. Some don't see it that way. If the SMASH model represents the right path, one conference executive told Yahoo Sports, then why wouldn't the conferences with the most influence figure it out, put out a bid to the new entity to media companies, and get free media money? But, contended an ACC administrator, you're going to have to involve a private equity firm to get the numbers you want. The proposals were openly discussed, at least on a limited basis, at a gathering of conference commissioners in Chicago 2 weeks ago. There are those who want to further explore them. In a world of uncertainty, you've got to kick the tires, Yormark told commissioners during the meetings. ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips expressed to some privately a willingness to discuss the SMASH model during a summit of his athletic directors next Monday in Charlotte. Even NCAA President Charlie Baker has an interest. He is examining the proposal. Those with knowledge of the discussion tell Yahoo Sports. So are plenty of others. How serious are they? It is unclear. But the list of administrators who have seen the presentation, or at the very least have been shared its content, covers the country's richest football powers and then some. Florida State, Georgia, Miami, LSU, Alabama, Clemson, Penn State, Auburn, Oregon, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Texas, USC, Michigan, Baylor, Florida, Iowa State, and Arizona. Many administrators from those schools were gathered this week in Nashville. Sankey and Petiti have to look at this and give it a sign to take it further, said one Power Conference athletic director. If those two don't want to do it, then it's not going to work. I think there are a lot of ADs in their leagues who want to see it have a good vetting. So there's one Power Conference athletic director out there. We don't know where he resides or where she resides. But that athletic director is saying that there are ADs in the SEC and the Big Ten that want to have this SMASH capital idea. They want it vetted. They want to have it have a good vetting. In comments he made recently, while on the Ohio State Coach Urban Meyer podcast, Sankey made clear his stance. He is not interested. I don't want to dumb down the Southeastern Conference to be part of some Super League notion with 70 teams that some people speculate would happen, he said. They want to be us, and that's on them to figure it out, not on me to bring myself back to earth. This is PATC money shot number 2 of the article. The first PATC money shot was Jack Swarbrick was involved. This is number 2. The SMASH proposal has plenty of faults, critics of it say. In fact, both the PERNA and SMASH models need congressional assistance in the form of a change to the Sports Broadcasting Act of 1961. The only way they can legally consolidate their rights. Perhaps it is why Project Rudy provides the group of five, yet again, with one access spot. Although those group of five schools supposedly no longer can play the Power Four conference schools, but they'll still have one access spot because it's a political play to appease the necessary members of Congress. So the Sports Broadcasting Act of 1961, they're going to have to change it so they can consolidate all the rights. Another looming issue. Will the media companies be interested in this? They are at the heart of the matter. Within the Smash proposal, networks are given the opportunity to invest $4 billion over 12 years into the concept of a 30% equity share of the league. Why wouldn't these media companies just do the equity share on their own? I don't know. This is doable. And would the networks years from now pay rights fees that are doable and triple their current value? Questions abound. For some, answers are easy. Too many schools are saying this makes a lot of sense, says one supporter of the model who presides over a Power Conference athletic department. We're not ready for it, rebutted a high-ranking Big Ten school official. There has not been a tipping point yet. Will this happen eventually? Yes, said a SEC school executive. It's all inevitable. So will this happen in the next 15 to 20 years? A chortle emanates from the other side of the line. Oh no, the person said. Much sooner than that. Holy smokes. There's a lot to that. Hopefully, these meetings this week in Nashville, Tennessee, that the SEC and the Big Ten are having starting tomorrow, hopefully there's some reporting of, okay, the Big Ten and the SEC, they're looking at it. They're going to continue to look at it. Or we'll get some reporting that they have brushed it aside for now. Hopefully we'll get some reporting on Project Rudy, more of it, by the end of the week. This is a story that we are going to follow here at Peek Around the Corner because it's gotten more traction than the other college football tomorrow. They talk to the biggest brand schools. Is the Buckeyes interested? Is Alabama interested in this? That's the question. Or are they going to turn to the Big Ten and the SEC and just say, do your private equity business on your own? Why involve everybody else? I have no idea where this is going. But we're going to follow this story because it's received more traction. And finally, I have been, I have continued to talk about private equity. And I've been, it's coming in. It's coming into college football, college sports. In some way, in some fashion, it's coming in. It is. And I know a lot of people in the PATC community over the last year have said, no, it can't come in. It's a loser proposition. People lose money. Look at Red Lobster. They go bankrupt. It's coming in. It has infiltrated into almost every professional sports league. It's coming in. How does it come in is the question. Does it come in as a smash capital where it involves a huge amount of teams all under one umbrella? Or does it come in per conference? I don't know. I do not know. Anyways, and what about the media companies? Is Fox really going to be interested in this? ESPN? They don't want to have an NFL where all these schools are negotiating under one umbrella. Are they just going to say, okay, let's do it? Are they interested in the whole thing of ESPN getting equity into this Super League, Project Rudy's? They can do that on their own. Some of this is kind of like we don't really need your help to do this. That's what Sankey is saying. But if private equity is going to come in, and it is going to come in, they're going to want some control, some decision making. So it's a double-edged sword. It almost seems like Sankey believes this is not coming in, private equity. It is. It is, in my opinion. That's my opinion. And it has been for quite a while. There's too much money out there. So how does it come in? How much power do they have? That is the question. Fox will pay the Big Ten all the money they want for more equity. They already have a deal. That's true. Fox already has equity. Media rights partners, A4 commissioners have to be on board, not thinking this possible without brushing out lots of details. Good luck getting their votes. The Tier 1 payouts sound interesting. Yeah. 8 permanent Tier 1 members. Private equity doesn't stick around forever. They have to turn a profit for their investors, and they need to sell in short order. Sankey is arrogant as hell. What would it mean for basketball? Roman Maroney. I love how those getting less say college football is ruined. It's a complete abandonment of academic requirements resulting in professional athletes masquerading as student athletes that has ruined it. Maryland has more in common with the Big Ten than the ACC. No point for them to go back. Who would be the 8 permanent Tier 1 schools? Well, it would be Notre Dame, Texas, Georgia, Ohio State. It would be the 6th. Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, Notre Dame, Texas. That's 6 right there. Maybe a Penn State, maybe a USC. I don't know. Good luck deciding on that. Justin Lucas. However, the smash capital proposals unequal distribution as well as uneven distribution changes in the ACC. This is ridiculously absurd. It's just like asking for Congress to get involved. Congress would have to get involved. They would have to change that 1961 act. Mo Envision is no Super League. Not now, not ever. The Walking Geek says the G5 should go to spring ball. Kirk Mason says, if they go there, I'm just done. Yeah, I think Penn State would be one of the 8 members. I agree with those 8, Marcus Williams. But are other schools going to agree with those 8? Man, that is a permanent perch, making a whole lot more money than the schools right below them. Would a Florida be okay with that? That's a whole lot of politics. I mean, look, is there going to be unequal revenue sharing in the SEC and the Big Ten for the media rights? Probably. But for Mississippi State, this is my opinion, for Mississippi State, for an Arkansas, for Purdue, for Northwestern, for Minnesota, for an Illinois, if there's going to be unequal revenue, media money, it's going to come from Ohio State, Alabama telling us that. Like, okay, the Buckeyes want a little bit more. You deserve more. The eyeballs are on you, Buckeyes. Okay, all right. But I think it's going to be a lot easier coming from a conference member of over 100 years to say, okay, we understand. Instead of an outside force, outside decision making, my biggest issue with all this is, for good or for bad, and it's both. For good or for bad, the conferences have become even more powerful. For good and for bad. And for these conferences just to give up all these decision making, I just don't see it happening. I don't. If you want to call that being greedy, okay. If you want to call that being whatever you want to call it, I just don't see them giving that up. They've been making decisions. They've been projecting this for years of where they are now. And it's suddenly so, okay, well, we're going to, and then relegation, depending on wins or losses. Some of these conferences, it's harder to win a football game than it is in other conferences. So therefore, I don't think this is going to happen. Not in this, but we're going to cover this because it's gotten traction. No question about it. And we're going to cover this because I have made the decision months ago. It could be wrong, but private equity is coming in. It is. And here's another thing. Exactly. How is Oregon going to feel about being left out of Tier 1? Yeah, there's so much. Again, this is going to save everybody, but man, this is also going to have its own just an incredible amount of issues. But at the end of the day, I believe private equity is coming in, but I think SEC is going to want control of this huge amount of money coming in. I can't see the SEC. I can't see it. I can't see them giving up control. And the Big Ten has its own universe of control. I just don't see it happening. But we are going to follow the story because no question, this has gotten traction, even within some of the SEC and the Big Ten, right? And if it gets traction with Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, then I'm going to be dead wrong. I'm going to be dead wrong. We're going to open up the phone lines. Thank you for joining us here. This is an emergency live show, breakfast show. Project Rudy. Project Rudy is a super league forming. Are we going to learn more this Wednesday or Thursday? They're having meetings in Nashville, the Big Ten and the SEC. Part of the things they're going to be talking about is Project Rudy.
Call from
Rick.
Rick, the floor is yours. Thanks for calling. Let it rip, sir.
Wow, this is big.
Yeah.
This is very, very big. Because it's putting this whole issue on Main Street. And when you add to it that, boy, and it was such a short sentence, but that little bit about the West Virginia compromise and one president from the Big Ten and one president from the SEC who had their name on the document and then yanked it because obviously a reporter found out what they had signed up for and was willing to give them a call and say, hey, let's talk about what you signed up for.
Cloak and dagger, yes.
Cloak and dagger.
Yes.
What really popped out to me was, can you go back to the section in the article where it lists the 3 tiers?
Sure. Let me.
If it's no inconvenience.
No.
What really popped out to me was tier 3. Because everything, when I looked at those 3 tiers in the money breakdown is very relevant, of course. But what really stuck out to me was, boy, this sure looks like tier 1 and tier 2 are, for the most part, not perfectly, but for the most part, Big Ten and SEC teams. And tier 3 are ACC and Big 12 teams.
I don't know. I just don't know.
But there would be an exception. You've always got the tippity top of the ACC and the Big 12. So they would, 1 or 2 might get relegated up to tier 2.
Yeah. But here's the problem. Okay. So let's say you're West Virginia, you're in the Big 12, and you don't like the fact that there's this looming gap between the conferences, and I understand that, right? West Virginia's looking out for West Virginia. They want to change it up. Of course, I completely understand that. But when you look at tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, hey, West Virginia, that gap is going to be even more. Or at least it's permanently set. We don't know what the future is going to be for the Big 12, for the Big 10, and the SEC. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're permanently cementing that huge monster gap. I don't know. What this does solve Rick, is there's a big cash infusion in the cash-strapped athletic departments, especially at a time of revenue sharing, right? But on the other hand, so that's what it does solve. On the other hand, though, we got to remember that revenue sharing number, how much you have to share, basically the salary floor, how much you have to share for your student athletes, based upon the House versus NCAA settlement, is based on the average of the revenue created by these athletic departments. So if you're having these huge cash infusion, now that salary floor is going to go up also as well. It's a vicious cycle. But again, I don't know. Go ahead, finish the call.
I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly. But then the other part, and I'll let some other callers get in, is this meeting tomorrow.
Yes.
Big Ten, SEC.
Yeah.
This is Sankey and Petiti's team going into a closed session with marching orders on what's acceptable and what isn't. And they're doing all the legwork, while Petiti and Sankey get to, sit in their penthouses waiting for the results of their own committees. And what they'll do is they'll come out of that committee, and then Sankey and Petiti will talk again about forming their own little deal.
Yeah.
Because there's none of Sankey and Petiti's teams want to be tier 3.
Yeah.
And if you form your own SEC Big Ten Super League, you don't have tier 3. You have tier 1 and tier 2.
Probably. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for letting me speak.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, no, you did a great job, Rick. Beautiful job.
Well, you do a great job daily, so I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. So now I'm gonna get Big Ten and SEC people mad at me. Now I'm gonna go the other way. The walking geek. One thing is for certain: powerful people are scared to death that the SEC and the Big Ten could split. That's why you get ideas like this. Well, here's another idea. I mean, I've often said a Super League, a split from the SEC and the Big Ten could happen in the year 2030-31. I've said that a million times. It wasn't going to happen in 2026 or 25. As a fan, I don't want it to happen. I don't want anything to do with it as a fan. As a person who does college football peek around the corner, if it begins to, look, I got to give the peek and it may be happening. I'm going to report on it, whatever. But I don't want it to happen. To me, this, I am, everything I read in the Ross Dellinger article about Project Rudy, I mean, if the Big Ten and the SEC decide to do their own Project Rudy, it wouldn't be called Project Rudy. It would be called Project Woody for Woody Hayes. I mean, they can do a Project Woody. And then we're really going to have, that's, and I'm afraid that this might push them to do that. I don't know what the future holds, but a large part of it is going to be formed by how does private equity come in to the college sports space. And man, oh man. Anyways, give us a call, 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. Project Woody, bend over and take it. I don't think the Big Ten wants to split from the rest. They want to reign over it. Again, we're gonna continue to follow the story because, like Rick said, it does have traction. The idea of a Super League even has a little bit of attraction within the Big Ten and the SEC. There was at least one president who, in the SEC and the Big Ten, or one official, I don't know if it was a president, athletic director, whatever, I think it's a president, who was enamored enough with the idea of a 72 Super League that they had their names signed on the dotted line at some point. I would love to guess who that was. I'm guessing because Danny White's name was on it, the Tennessee athletic director, maybe the Tennessee president's name was one of them. This just a guess on my total speculation. I could be way off. And in the Big Ten, well, since the University of Minnesota did not have got a new president, they're out. Rutgers, they don't even really have they're out. I don't know. I couldn't even guess. Our president just came on board. She doesn't even know where the bathrooms are at the University of Minnesota. A's on the kid. A major shakeup is coming. Who knows how exactly take shape. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. If you want to donate to help us keep the lights on here, peek around the corner with a donation. Hit the $sign where you make a comment. I appreciate you all coming on with us early Tuesday morning. Breaking news, Ross Gellinger, Yahoo Sports, Project Rudy is a Super League forming. Let me know. Problem. Monopolization of the sport. Some concession has to be made to the G5 and FCS schools. Where in this Project Rudy, it sounds like the concession is that the G5 would still have that playoff spot. But there's no games going to be being played versus the G5 schools. And G5 schools make money on those games. That's how they pay the bills on those games. But again, right, the philosophy is we want bigger brand schools to play each other more often. Well, that's why the Big Ten expanded. That's why the SEC took on Oklahoma and Texas. I don't know.
Call from
Marcus.
Marcus, the floor is yours. Thanks for calling, sir. Let it rip.
Good morning, Greg. Good morning. Thanks for the live show.
Appreciate you coming on in.
Yeah, this is awesome news to hear. But I just had a question about in your monologue when you read an article, it said that the other conferences were fearing a breakaway and forming a 36-team Big Ten SEC, their own breakaway. Isn't there only 34 teams combined in the Big Ten and SEC?
Yeah, there'd have to be 2 more teams added. Yeah. I think
So
if there's a breakaway, I think there'd be a few more teams added, right? I think it wouldn't be I think it'd probably be 40 teams overall. That is just my speculation.
Okay, yeah, I was just wondering. And then also, given the fact that, according to the article, basically the tier one is going to be the 8 most watched most watched schools, correct?
Yeah, it sounds like they named the 6 most watched schools. They didn't name who would be in the tier 1, the tier 8, the permanent 8. So they listed it 2 different ways. They listed it as tier 1 as the top 16 schools, and then another variation, there'd be a permanent 8 tier 1. So yeah, they mentioned 2 different ways there. Go ahead.
Okay. Just to be a short call, I'm at work, so I can't really be on the phone too long. But thanks for the good work. Thank you for the information, and keep it up, buddy.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Marcus. Great call. And again, look, Notre Dame.
Call from
JD.
JD, can you hold on for just one moment? I just want to express something, and then we're going to get to you as soon as possible.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Again, Notre Dame looking out for their own self-interest, just like every other school out there. Okay, so I don't harbor any bad feelings. They're looking out for themselves. Jack Swarbrick is a part of this. He joined this, right? Look at it from Notre Dame perspective. They get everything they've ever wanted, right? I mean, they get everything they want. They're going to be a permanent 16. They're going to be okay. They don't have to worry about a standalone media contract. They're not going to have to worry about that at all ever again. They're going to get paid the highest amount. Okay, cool. They're also going to be able to remain an independent program that fit their booster needs and all their other needs, their sponsorship needs across the country. This is their wet dream. This is everything Notre Dame would ever want, is this deal. Good for them. I mean, Jack Swarbrick, he recognizes it. He's still looking out for Notre Dame. Come on, let's be honest. Everyone's looking out for themselves. This is the apex. This is the top of what Notre Dame would love to have in the college sports world. JD, the floor is yours.
How you doing this morning, sir?
I'm doing good. I had a busy morning. Things were going on. I got to take my wife to work here 1 o'clock Eastern time. I'm sitting here going, well, I'm going to do a show later afternoon. And then I saw this big story broke. Ross Dellinger, it only took me a few minutes to look at the article and say, holy smokes, we got to do a PATC breakfast show. So JD, I'm very thankful that you join us. I don't know if you read the article or if you've watched some of the show, but what are your thoughts on this, if you have any thoughts at all?
For it to gain any relevancy, they needed a splash, and they got their splash because everybody's talking about it now. Or people in the college football world are it's got their attention. I think you're absolutely correct. The P2 is not going to want to give up control because they now have control. So will there be some semblance of and I have to be careful the way I phrase this because I don't want it to be relegated back to previous concepts. Will there be some semblance of a P2, expanded P2 breakaway, or some semblance of a Super League? I think that's inevitable. Will it be this version? It's never this version. This version is the one that's got everybody's attention, or it's getting the serious conversations. Would you agree?
it is getting serious conversation to the point where the reporting today leads us to the fact that the SEC and the Big Ten will be talking about it tomorrow in Nashville.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, it's and that's why we're covering it this morning, because I think this has gotten more traction. Now, of course, I have my serious doubts on it, but we're going to be covering it. So yes, I agree with you.
Well, it'll be tweaked. If it gets enough traction where you have enough interest, then it'll be tweaked multiple times, and you know there'll be different versions. I'm going to tell you my angst about FSU being stuck in a lower tier changed a while back. I've just been told in whatever iteration the future of CFB, FSU wasn't going to be left behind. And I've been told things, and I can't really. There's some things I can't share, and nothing's definite. You understand what I'm saying? But
Yep.
but it's not so much, you know, which Power 2 conference FSU would end up in. It's that the networks aren't going to let them be left behind. They're too valuable. And from that point, you've noticed I probably chilled out a lot. So
Yeah, I mean, like I have said over and over, JD, to the point where people got sick of me saying it. I have said over and over again, Florida State and Clemson are going to get to the point where they need to get to, because they're too valuable not to. You know what I'm saying? They're going to get to that stratification line. How they get to it, how long it takes, I don't know. It might not be the way everyone thought, but they're going to get there because they're too valuable.
well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But I'm still kind of I'm just, like you said early in your call, this kind of there's been so much work, you know, like, you know how you're working on a project at home and you've put so much sweat equity in whatever project you're working on, right? You're working on it, you're working on it. Let's say you're in the backyard, you're working on it. You're building a brick wall or something, you're working on it. And suddenly your wife comes in the backyard and says, okay, we're going to change all this up. Okay? Well, you're sitting there and you're going, I've made all these decisions. I've invested all this money. I had to decide which brick to go with. I had to decide which cement to go with. I had to decide where exactly I'm going to place it. You know, you've made all these decisions. You've sweated on it. You've gotten your friends to help you. You've gotten your neighbor to help you. You've figured things out. You've got it leveled. You want to expand the project. And then suddenly you're being, you know, an outside force. Okay, maybe I should not have used the wife, but you know what I'm saying. Suddenly now everything's going to change, and your decisions that you've been making for a long time on this project that you're working on, suddenly you're going to change it all up. That's how I feel about this. Some of these institutions have been working so hard, there's been so many decisions made, bad or good, within these conferences, and suddenly now an outside force is going to come in and they're going to go, well, okay, you're going to buy equity and now you're going to you'll make the decisions. Okay, this school makes this money. It doesn't seem, what's been going on has been the opposite of that, the complete opposite of that. The NCAA has lost decision making. It's going down to the conferences. And now suddenly, somehow the conferences are not going to have, they're going to get stripped of decision. Now it's going to go back to some umbrella, some people that are controlling all this, some equity, I really am having a hard time really having a hard time believing that this is going to happen. I do believe private equity is coming in, but they're just. I think that it's going to be limited. Their power to make decisions, I believe, is what's going to be limited. Maybe I'm being naive. Maybe I am being completely wrong. Go ahead, JD. Thanks for letting me butt in.
Oh no. You know, I always value your opinions and your insight. And the thing I'm going to add to this is the reason I believe some of this is inevitable is because I've known that the networks, at least since a couple years before 2020, I'd say at least 18, 19, at least since then, probably earlier than that, wanted to change the makeup. They wanted to consolidate a lot of the power teams in CFB. It wasn't as profitable of a business as they wanted it to be, or they anticipated it could be a much more profitable venture than what it already is. So it's been a slow consolidation. Are the networks behind this private equity venture? I don't know. Would it have started without the network's blessing? No, there's no way. And that's another reason that and I know some people may not, and you may not agree with me on this. The networks are eventually going to get what they want, even from the Power Two, because the rumors of collusion are over. They do collude, okay, to a degree. Are they still competitors? Yes. But they have a shared vision of the future. And the future is a certain type of scheduling model that benefits them. And do the conferences still have power? Yes, they do. But at some point, the networks are going to get what they want. Maybe not exactly what they want, but they're going to get what they want because they're the ones broadcasting the games. If you want your games on TV, you're going to give us what we want. May not be everything we want, but you're going to give us what we want. So whatever version of that you can negotiate, so be it. And so the networks have wanted this consolidation. Well, all of these people are business. You're in business, and they all know each other. And so the private equity sees an opportunity. So they see the Power Two breaking away, and I don't mean necessarily an actual breakaway, but the power structure has lifted away. They see the opportunity to swoop in and keep the Power Four in some type of a model where it's not just one league and then everybody else. And I say the league, a Power Two league, and then everybody else. So, they're trying to, in their eyes, save college football, but they're also trying to make money. Let's not be. I'm going to state the obvious there, because if you can't make money, you're not going to do this. But there's just so many moving pieces and so many business opportunities. There are, like you said, the opportunities of Notre Dame. They want to stay the way they are. They want to make sure they can stay the way they are. Mm-hmm. So there's all these varying interests that are moving into a model, and a model is some type of reiteration of CFB in the future that's going to happen. How do you, right now, they're in the process of trying to convince all the parties to agree on a model that works. And that's all this is. And will it change? Will it be this number? I was told it would be probably way less, but that was a while back. Way fewer teams. Would I like to see a 72-team model where everyone still stays relevant? Yeah, that's better for college football. But I understand teams like Minnesota or others that you're in the Tier 1 and then now you could drop to Tier 2. Or what if FSU has a bad 5-year run again, and they can't get up to Tier 1? What is the criteria for Tier 1? Is it viewership? Well, they would be in Tier 1. Is it viewership and success? What is the criteria? There's so many variables. And I can understand the University of Florida. They haven't been good in a while. But the SEC wouldn't be the SEC right now without that run of Florida in the late 2000s. I mean, they would still be successful, but they carried the league for quite a while. And so is Florida going to sit here and say,
Yeah.
so all these other, Georgia is more important than us? When Georgia's, real success, they had success years ago, but their real success in modern day college football is within the last 6 or 7 years. There's a lot of 8 protected, that's the part that's really, I don't know. I think that top 16, I think that part's going to be restructured, but I think you're exactly right. I think the Power 2 is going to want more control before they would ever agree to any of this. And they're not going to give all their control back to a private equity firm or a group of investors. So I think there'll be some version of this, but I don't know that it's this version.
All righty, man. I appreciate it, JD. Great phone call.
All right, sir.
We'll be talking about the upcoming games this week, later on this week. I appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Beautiful.
All right. Bye-bye.
Great call. Big story this morning. Don't know where it's going. Ashu Wan Een. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Sounds like Project Rudy is another way of saying let's monopolize the sport. We should all know how that will end. And again, if for this to happen, they're going to need Congress to act. Now, is Congress really going to act? They're going to really overturn that 1961 act. I mean, that is one gigantic hurdle. Thank you for the super chat, Ashu. Boy, I hope let me know if I'm butchering that. I appreciate your incredible generosity. Thank you for the super chat, helping us keep the lights on, making sure that we can do a morning show. Thank you so much for your super chat and your comment. Usually those don't end well. You are correct. And also I want to, this whole thing of potentially, Ashu Lian. Thank you, Ashu Lian. Thank you so much for your super chat. I do apologize for butchering your name. My bad. Hold on one second.
Call from
Anthony Montano.
Anthony, can you hold on one second? Anthony, can you hold on one moment?
Yes.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Shulian, for your super chat. Thank you. And I just, before we get on to Anthony here, I just want to emphasize something. The part of the article where it said, and then the networks could buy into equity of the Super League. As has been accurately stated in the chat room, I think by Patrick Baylor Bear and other people, they have essentially already done this. Fox has got an equity in the Big Ten, a massive one. They own 61% of the Big Ten network. The media deals go through them. Fox is making money. They're part of they're ESPN's already done it with the ACC network and the ESPN network. They've already got equity in where they want it. And the Big 12 has their third tier games on ESPN Plus. And so some of this is already out of the barn. The horses are already out of the barn on some of this. Anyways, go ahead, Anthony. I appreciate your patience. The floor is yours.
Hey, Greg. Before we get on, can you guys send prayer, everybody, on the stream, can they send prayers to everybody in Florida that's going to get hit by Hurricane Milton?
You got it.
Stuff like that.
You got it. I appreciate it. Prayers for everybody that is that's being in the zone of that Hurricane Milton. Please get out of there. Florida and the whole southeastern part of the United States is going to be affected by this massive hurricane. So prayers to the people that are having to get out of there, and their family members and their loved ones throughout this country and, of course, the world, who are worried about their family members. Get out, get your pets, get out of there, and praying like that we don't have loss of life like we did with the previous hurricane of a week ago. We still got the western part of North Carolina devastated. This hurricane's going over incredibly heavy populated areas like Tampa Bay, possibly that whole region through to Orlando. It's going to be absolutely devastating. No, I'm not falling for doom and gloom. This is bad. No question about it. It's bad. So our prayers go out to our countrymen and women who are in the zone of this hurricane. Prayers to you all. Please get out. Be safe. Thank you, Anthony, for that reminder. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Yeah. When it comes to what you're talking about, Greg, like I thought Fox still has massive equity in the Big 12 too, don't they? I thought. So,
well, they've got.
Did they sell that equity?
Not really. I mean, they have a media contract, but they don't have ownership. They don't have equity stake in it. ESPN has the ESPN Plus, and the Big 12 schools have their third tier content on there. So, but yeah,
no,
these
the reason
networks.
why I asked that is because, am I thinking of one Texas and Oklahoma were there that they had massive equity in the conference and stuff like that, or even then, and stuff like that. Even then, the Big Ten, the Fox didn't really have a huge ownership of the. Even
no, they never really had ownership of the. They have a media contract, but they don't have.
Okay.
I mean, the Fox actually owns 61% of the Big Ten network.
And the same thing with the ESPN, the SEC network. They own...
and the ACC network. Yep.
Yeah, no, and this is what I'm asking. Is there like these conspiracy theories that I keep on hearing from fans or like big people who cover this stuff? They're saying that they feel ESPN is in collusion with both the ACC and SEC to try to get like Clemson and Florida State into the SEC and stuff like that. Should I believe any of these? Like, is that crazy, or can you actually see that working out? Like, people think it's...
I don't think the ESPN is in collusion to do that. In fact, ESPN has pretty much been ESPN has been involved in the proceedings going on in Mecklenburg and in Leon County, and they basically were pretty hard on the Florida State lawyers. And other people would say that would be illegal. That would be market allocation. Now, would ESPN be interested at a certain time to bring a Florida State and Clemson into the SEC? Possibly, quite possibly. But I don't think now that I don't think they're in collusion with. I think they're acting in their own self-interest right now. I think ESPN. A lot of people disagree with me, but I think ESPN has enjoyed the ACC contract. I don't think they really want to break up that conference right now. No, I don't believe in that conspiracy theory.
Okay. And also, have you already reacted? Like, have they released a new rankings for the AP or the playoff yet? Have you reacted to those? and stuff like that, or
Well, they haven't had their first official ranking of the college football playoffs. When they do that, we're going to be covering that live. But that
how about the AP? Do you ever react to the
I've
AP
done a little
poll?
bit of the AP, but not really. I've been paying a little bit of attention to it, but it's not really important. It's that first college football playoff ranking by the committee. We're going to cover that extensively.
In your honest opinion, do you think Miami deserves to be in the top 4, even though they barely won the last 2 games against Virginia Tech and Cal, or they should even be in the top 10? You think they're a little bit overrated?
No,
I'm
I
asking
think they
this as
should
a
definitely
Hurricanes
be
fan.
in the top 10. I don't think they're top 4, but I think they should be 5, 6, or 7. They won those games. I would have Iowa State at number 7. Ahead of
because
Alabama and ahead
the
of
reason why I'm asking
Tennessee.
that is a lot of people say Miami's overrated. They're not as good as the record.
I think they're having
is
problems with their defense. I've talked about it. I've done a watch party of their last 2 games. I think they have massive problems with their secondary. I don't think they recognize. I don't think they have good recognition of what the other team's doing. I think they're going to still give up a lot of points. But
When you have Cam Ward at your quarterback, that really doesn't matter. And stuff like that.
it's going to matter at some point. But right now they've been able to escape, and I think their ranking is. I think they deserve their ranking. I think they're a top 10 team.
But you don't think they're a top 5 team?
I would not rank them in the top 4. Nope.
Okay.
No.
Who you're, in your honest opinion, who are your top 4? Do you still have Georgia, even though they lost to Alabama, in the top 4?
Well, right now it'd be Texas, Ohio State, Oregon. I think you'd throw Penn State in there.
Is there a group of 5 team you think is worthy, that's undefeated right now, that can be in there?
I think Boise State is I think they're moving up in the rankings, and I think they deserve it. Boise State, they've got a loss, but they lost to Oregon by only 3 points. So Boise State's ahead of the pack, and I think we still got to keep an eye. Let me finish a sentence here, and then keep an eye on Navy and Army. Somebody's going to come out of that AAC with a pretty high ranking.
And finally,
Yep.
how about what Utah's undefeated. Do you think they're good enough to be in the?
Utah's not undefeated.
Oh, I thought they're still undefeated, or did they lose?
They lost.
Okay. I'm confused. I'm thinking of someone else. Then, are they one of the best one-loss teams that you can see sneaking into the top 4 or 5?
It's very hard. It's very hard for Utah to be a playoff team if Cameron Rising is not playing. So if I knew if Cameron Rising was going to play against Arizona State this Friday night, I mean, I don't know if he's playing or not. If he's playing, the Utah can become a playoff team. But if he's not, probably not.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks again, Greg. Have a good day.
Appreciate it. Thank you for calling, Anthony. And this is what I get to. Jansen Roberts. There's nothing in Project Rudy that can't be done by the conferences themselves. And that's what in fact, it may even spur them to do it on them. Like, boy, I would love to be a fly on the wall in Nashville, Tennessee tomorrow. Hopefully there's some reporting. There probably isn't going to be. They'll probably wrap up that pretty tight, that information. But, Big Ten and the I agree with Mr. Roberts, Chancellor Roberts. Why won't they just... I don't know. I mean, look, Brett Yormark has been looking at private equity. We know at Peek Around the Corner he's been looking at private equity. In fact, we've sort of let this out. How they bring in the Big 12, how they bring in private equity is, and who they bring in as their partner probably will affect their plans and future conference expansion. These conferences are again, the Big 12 has done everything that everyone else has done. They're looking out for the self-interest of their institutions. If Brett Yormark and the Big 12 presidents think this Project Rudy helps them more than what they can do, then they're going to be for it. If they don't think it's going to help them, they're going to be against it. Same thing with every other school and every other conference. How it all should fall, I do not know. Devil Frog, Project Rudy only benefits Blue Bloods and Notre Dame. It's designed to shut everyone else out. Yeah, we're having a lot of people be against this idea, how it's written out, from all types of fan bases. We shall see. Again, hopefully we'll get more reporting on this tomorrow, at least from the Big Ten and the SEC perspective. Hopefully we'll get more reporting on this from... what does a school like Virginia Tech think about this idea? A Baylor, a TCU, a West Virginia, a Cincinnati, a Purdue, an Illinois, North Carolina. Bubba Cunningham was involved in the 72 Super League team idea. Stephen Vitt does not approve of Project Rudy. Marcus Williams doesn't approve of Project Rudy. Devil Frog, a potential change to the selection process. Is the committee the best way? Is under consideration as well. The two leagues, as well as TV partner ESPN, hold control of many of these decisions. Okay, we'll start there, Devil Frog. They were given that. Power. Because everybody signed on the dotted line. They were given that power. The Big 12 and the ACC acquiesced. They were in fear that the Big 10 and the SEC were going to split away. So they gave them the power to be able to change the format and the structure of the college football playoffs and how the teams are selected. That deal did give ACC, the Big 12, Notre Dame, the G5 protections through 2031. Protections that it would be the top 5 conference champions get an automatic bid. That the G5 would get at least one team in the tournament. That Notre Dame would get some protections. So it was a give and take, more of a take from the Big Ten and the SEC, but everybody signed they signed off on it, right? Charles Chamberlain, I hate monopolies. Therefore, I hate Project Rudy. You cannot really move between the tiers if you cannot compete for money and there is no draft for high school athletes. Swarbrick is part of it. Give me a break. Well, Notre Dame would get everything they've ever wanted in this deal. Okay, everybody, I think we're going to shut it down. I know we still got about 170 people watching. I do appreciate it. This was a breaking news, peek around the corner morning program. We're probably going to come on live again later today. I've got a lot to talk about in college football. So before you leave, please subscribe to our channel and turn on the notifications because we're going to come on live again, and I want you to know that we're coming on live again. So subscribe, turn on the notifications, smash the like button if you like our content. I want to say thank you to everybody, to Ashu Lian for your donation, for the phone calls, for the great chats in the chat room. I appreciate all of you for coming on in early on a Tuesday morning. This was not expected. But we go where the story goes here at Peek Around the Corner. And we are going to follow this Project Rudy. We're going to follow this one. Because at least it's gotten enough traction. I believe, we're going to have to follow this story. See if it picks up speed, if it gets shut down. And again, we're going to be covering what's going on in Nashville this week. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing our picks against the spread. And Greg the Gold is finally going to show up. Probably not. But anyways, that's what we're going to do. We got a big weekend of college football coming up. Big monster games. I'm all fired up. I know you are as well. So until next time, which is going to probably most likely be later this afternoon. Until next time, from all of us at PATC to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.